Hey guys, it's Rachel and it's Thankful Thursdays and I'm here with Kel, and this week we are answering the question, how can I avoid counting calories and weighing myself several times a day? I saw a little bit of Kel's video before I made this. I'm a bit late making it today. I've been really busy. So I think I've had to think about it as well, and I kind of, as always, thought back to my own personal experiences with that, and I was also thinking about how I'm helping somebody very close to me at the moment in terms of dealing with especially calorie counting. I think, as Kel said, that both are incredibly obsessive behaviours. They're compulsive and they are controlling and containing, and I guess they're to do with safety, boundaries. Who is it who tells you in your head what boundaries you should keep yourself to? But I know for me that weighing myself in the past was about limits and sort of saying, well, do you know what, it's okay if I'm here, but if I go over this, that's too much, and the same with calories. And I think that I'm going to first talk about some of the things I've been doing just recently to help this person. And I think that anybody who is recovering is going to find it incredibly difficult to do it alone. And so I'd very much encourage anyone who's watching these videos to even sit down and write or think about ways of being able to access support. That doesn't have to be professional support. I certainly wasn't receiving any professional support when I first began recovering. I had been in therapy before that and inpatient, but when I actually chose to take this upon myself, I wasn't actually in therapy. And the person who I'm trying to support right now also isn't. And so let me just sort of have a think about what I offer, or what I have done in a way of trying to help avoid calorie counting. And one of the things that I do is if we go food shopping, I try very hard to be with this person when I go food shopping. I try very hard to encourage this person to think about meals that could be put together, and thinking about meals in the sense of what foods could go together, what feels manageable, rather than saying what is within a calorie content. I also then will use marker pens across food containers, and if you are in an environment whereby you have a partner or a mum or anybody, it doesn't matter who it is, can in some way maybe do that for you. Actually go through the foods that you're trying to eat and actually get rid of the calorie intakes using a marker pen. It's something that I did when I was recovering, and I used to try and get my mum to do that for me. I think the difficulty, of course, is that when you're eating disordered, you're very clear on what the intake and calorie intake and fat intake and what have you is on food. But I do think it's incredibly important to maybe just start literally wiping them out bit by bit by bit. And what you will find is that in your head you will have an idea of maybe what's in food. I also think that it can be helpful at times to see the intake of foods in terms of dealing with fears around it being a completely no-go food, and actually sort of realistically thinking, well, this has X amount of calories in it, and is that really that bad that I can't eat it? And I think that there is some knowledge to be gained in being aware of how much food or how much your calorie intake is, especially if you aren't doing it with a dietitian. I don't have experiences of working with a dietitian. I have done when I've been in hospital, but as an outpatient that wasn't something that I was involved in. I was very fortunate in having my mum help me with my food, and it was a case of slowly just trying to limit myself from looking at packaging, and if I couldn't do that, like I said, using marker pens, using labels to put over food, so that I didn't become even more obsessed with the food I was taking. I think that what becomes difficult with cutting out calorie counting, especially if you're doing this on your own, is actually not having enough calories. That is problematic for the person who I'm trying to help at the moment, and what I think has been maybe of some help is that I can actually count the calories and try to encourage different foods that maybe have a slightly higher intake, or just slowly build in snacks. I think, like I said right at the beginning, this is very, very difficult to do on your own, so you really want to get a partner in crime to help you with some of this and to help you manage that. And if you don't have that, I would really suggest you look at, I'm going to put a link up for the Freedom Fighters website, and even if you can't follow the meal plans completely on there, to get an idea of how much somebody should be having at breakfast, lunch and dinner. And what I ended up doing is just having a very general plan whereby I'd have breakfast and I would just have a number of options for what breakfast. They would all vary in terms of their calorie intake, but there would just be a number of variety of things I could have, and then for food, for lunch, and you know, then for dinner, and what snacks I could have. And it's just building up that variety of food and trying really, really hard to avoid looking at the calories, because all it does is absolutely freak you out and stress you out. And it's just, if you're recovering, it's like, I never wanted to recover and still be one of those people that counted calories. So I might be eating the food and gaining weight, but I didn't want those obsessions. And I think as long as you don't want those obsessions, you don't have to have those obsessions. The other aspect to this question has been about weighing yourself. I weighed myself for a long time, and I weighed myself through my recovery, even though I was doing it at home, and I didn't weigh myself obsessively. I worked very hard at not weighing myself, and I think when I first began to recover, even seeing that I had gained weight, it sometimes really helped, because at times my head would be so kind of full of the food I was eating that I believed that I had completely blown up and gained, you know, like 30 pounds, and then I go on the scale and I've gained 2 pounds or 1 pound, or you know, and that kind of did help me. But I did get to a point where I threw the scale in the trash, and yeah, that was pretty good. And you know, I barely weigh myself now. I do occasionally, but I don't particularly weigh myself. I don't care to particularly know what I weigh, but I know that that's a behaviour that comes back. And what actually did help me is that I had a scale, and I keep it. It's in my parents' bedroom, and it's hidden in my parents' bedroom. And I think that is something that stopped me from weighing myself, because I kept it in a different room. Okay, my parents are in and out of their bedroom, they're maybe there in the morning, which is when I was most likely to weigh myself, or late at night, and I can't actually access the scale. And that's something I know other people have done, where they've, you know, moved the scale into sort of their parents' bathroom or something, and it just gives that distance, and it just gives you that tiny bit more space from being able to weigh yourself. And yeah, that's one of the suggestions. And I guess the only other one is to really try and get into a routine. Something really stupid that I used to do when I was recovering was drink a load of water when I woke up in the morning, because then I was less likely to want to weigh myself, because I would probably freak out because I'd had some water, and I know that wouldn't necessarily have made that much difference. And these suggestions sort of seem a bit random and a bit crazy, but that was one of the things I used to do. And I used to also try to wake up with somebody close to me and just try and occupy myself when I woke up, sort of wake up and try and get into a structure of doing things other than weighing yourself. And that was really helpful for me. And if you really don't think that you can avoid weighing yourself, I'd suggest that you actually just get rid of the scales, just get rid of them. I think there's quite a lot to talk about on this subject, and I'm going to end this video now because I'm thinking that it's getting long enough. But I just hope that some of those suggestions have kind of, I don't know, maybe just put a few thoughts in your head. And you know, what I'm most you know, really want to put across to you is that, you know, recovery, yeah, in some people it has to be about weight gain and those changes, but for me, my recovery was always just about eating a sufficient amount for my body, feeding myself enough, and avoiding calorie counting and avoiding the obsessive behaviours, whether that came to rituals with the way I ate food, and just trying to be normal and trying to eat around people. Another nice way of avoiding calorie counting is eating out, and is allowing yourself tasters of food when you're out without you knowing the calorie intake. Anyway, I hope some of these have helped, and if you have any more questions, feel free to message the collab or to message me personally. Okay guys, have a great day. Love you loads. Bye.